So before we get into this conversation with JoJo, I want you to hit subscribe, join our community, and that way you will be notified every time we have a phenomenal guest like JoJo. You have 2 hours, essentially. In 2 hours, you're going to be in the Big Brother.
Yeah.
So first this is wild that you're here.
Yeah.
So why is this your first stop?
My partner was like, you're doing a podcast before you go into the house? That's the last thing you're doing before? And I was like, yeah, why not?
Why not?
Why not? What have I got to lose?
There's a lot of people who cannot wait to see you in the house.
Oh.
And I think part of it is they want to see, like,
The thing they don't see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you are scared about or you're fearful of?
No, I'm not. I'm not really scared of anything. I am very excited. I'm very curious. I've always been an open book, but I think with being an open book, I've always been the one deciding what goes out when. You know what I mean? And this, I'm gonna have no clue what's going out. I'm gonna just be living. You're gonna get to see the side of me that my friends, my family, people that are coming to my life, that they get to see.
Yes.
Where it's like, it still is me, right? Like, I still have that, like, deep sense of humor. I still have that, like, quick, funny wit to me. I still am just an entertaining soul. Like, I love to dance around and bop around and make people laugh and crack jokes. But, I'm not this, like, crazy wild, like, always at 10. Like, I'm actually a really big chiller.
Yeah, like you're human.
Yeah, I think people really forget that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's this notion that you're just like on 10 all the time.
Yeah.
You're kind of this entertaining robot.
Yeah.
And you're not. And I think that Big Brother is going to,
Yeah,
allow us to see that.
It's so weird because I talk to my partner about this all the time. Like, it's so weird, babe, because if somebody was to ask you, is she really like this? Your answer would be yes and no.
Right.
Because I am, but I'm almost just like dressed different and down a level. You know what I mean?
So you don't dress like this all day, every day?
Like, yeah, I don't dress like this all the time, and believe it or not, it's so funny. Like, literally, my Big Brother suitcase is hilarious because all my, like, fancy eviction night outfits are like this. Rhinestone, crazy, out there, full hair makeup, right? The rest of my outfits, I don't think I brought one thing that is from a women's department. Like, everything is from a men's department. It's gray, it's dark,
Wow.
it's basketball shorts and T-shirts. Like, I'm very, like, it's so opposite.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so now in the house though, right?
Yeah.
You have, would you say, a strong personality?
Yes. Yes, but not, like, I can go either way. I don't know how to explain it. I think I'm the type of person that if I'm asked a question, I'll answer it. If I'm talked to, I'll talk back. But I will ask somebody questions about themselves. But I'm not like I can be a leader if we need a leader. But I can also, if somebody else is taking a leadership, I can,
Yeah, you could be a follower.
do your biggest. And then when it comes crumbling down, I'll step in. You know what I mean?
All right, but so then how do you manage someone who may disagree with you? Because that will happen.
That totally will happen. I think about that a lot. And I think it depends on what. If they disagree that chicken's better than steak, like, why are we fighting about this? Are we 7? You know what I mean? Like, and like, we'll just like laugh it off, right? But I mean, if we're disagreeing on something when it comes to, politics or human rights or something like that, I believe that, look, I have this saying, and it's would you get me a Band-Aid? We may disagree, right? You may think this and I may think that. I don't like when people say, like, your opinion's wrong, because it's not. It's your opinion. You know what I mean? Your belief is wrong. It's not. It's your belief. There's a reason why you believe this. But at the end of the day, no matter what you believe, no matter where you stand on things, would you get me a Band-Aid? Because I can guarantee if you cut your finger, say you and I don't agree, right? But you cut your finger while we were sitting here on your glass. First thing I would do is get up and say, does anyone have a Band-Aid, right?
I see.
Would you do the same for me? And I think that if somebody disagrees, but they would get me a Band-Aid, all good.
Okay.
If somebody disagrees, but they wouldn't get me a Band-Aid, that shows what kind of human you are.
Wow, that's profound.
Right?
JoJo, you are a philosopher.
I should write that. I should write that. Honestly, it's just a book.
That-
Would you get me a Band-Aid?
But that truly is profound.
It's a very simple concept.
It
you
is.
know what I mean? And unfortunately, in today's world, is some people would be like,
Right.
cut your finger.
Right. For a variety of reasons.
Yep.
ignorance,
Yeah.
arrogance, etc.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about that is that I believe I know the first person who would get in line to give you a Band-Aid. And not only do I believe I know that person, but that person has sent you a message. Can I play something for you?
Let me see it.
Oh, here we go. Ready? Listen to this.
Hey, JoJo.
Oh, I know that voice.
So, and tell you just exactly how proud I am of you. And I can't wait for the world to see you on the Big Brother house. But mostly, I'm just really super proud of the woman you've become, for everything that you stand for. I can't wait for everything that's coming for you. I love you no matter what. And pitcher catcher for life. And I'm just so proud of you.
Oh,
So pitcher catcher for life. Who's that?
pitcher catcher. My mom and I love her so much.
That's your mom.
That's my mom. That's
Jess?
my mom, Jess. So we have this saying that we don't need a baseball. You guys don't have baseball over here, so it didn't really make that much sense. But on a baseball team, you have a lot of positions. There's a lot of players on a baseball team. You have your pitcher and your catcher, but then you have first base, second base, shortstop, third base. Then you have right field, center right, left field, left center. Then you have, other players on the team that aren't on the field at the same time. So there's a lot of players. My mom and I, though, always say that we are a team of two. We are a pitcher and a catcher. And we don't need the whole field because, she only throws fastballs and I will catch every single one and no one can hit off of her.
Wow.
And vice versa. And then when it's our turn to bat, we only hit home runs. So we know we can just keep rotating bats. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's just like a little inside joke. And it's just to say, like, no matter what, like, I got you. You know what I mean? Like, if no one else is there for you, meaning you have no other teammates, I got you. You know what I mean? And she really does. She's a good one.
Would you say that your mother's your best friend?
Yeah, she really is. She's just like, nobody has my back like she does. You know what I mean? Nobody's also afraid to check me in the way she does. You know what I mean? When I need it. She's a good one. She's
Yeah.
a really good one.
Can we talk about you growing up with your mother, with
Yeah.
with your father? So
Yeah.
you were born in Omaha.
Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha, Nebraska.
Dead center of America. Got the Midwest.
Exactly. I was about to put on my Midwest too.
Yeah.
So how would you describe Omaha to someone who's never been there?
Oh, man. I mean, any steak or piece of corn that you eat comes from there. It's a lot of farms, a lot of cornfields. If you think about, like, the South and, like that vibe, right?
Yes.
A lot of people know the South in America, where it's, like, good old Christian values, right? And you have the South. Then you have LA. That's like, we hate everyone. We're doing our own thing. We're going to become our own country one day. See y'all. You know what I mean? You have California.
Yes.
Nebraska's somewhere in the middle. It's a very beautiful place.
How did growing up in that environment, how do you
Yeah.
think that impacted who you've become today?
I think that I really have just beautiful people around me from a very young age, because I moved away from Nebraska permanently when I was like 11. And so that's like my childhood.
That is.
True childhood. And it just really started off solid.
Solid. So who was around you? Who would you say loved you when you were there, the first 11 years?
Ooh, I mean, obviously my family, right? Friend-wise, I had really good friends growing up. I had a lot of best friends. I was always close with my dance teachers. And I think they really can shape you as a kid. And like, I used to love and look up to them and like to drive with them.
What?
So I have a piano teacher and I loved her. I used to love my softball coach. Oh my God, I loved my softball coach. My kindergarten teacher, she was amazing. I only went to kindergarten and third grade. So I had two teachers and they were both beautiful. Mrs. Getz and Mrs. Lloyd. Love them.
Wow, you remember their names?
Of course. Could
Yeah.
never forget them.
Yeah.
Even like, I remember Mrs. Getz came to I think it was my brother's graduation. And it's crazy. She's a beauty. Like, it's just like crazy how that shapes you like that.
It is. I think this is why we don't, on a whole, we don't value our teachers. We don't respect,
Yeah.
especially through pay, etc., because they do.
It's crazy.
I remember
Yeah.
certain teacher names, as I go back. So I'm with you on
Oh
this.
yeah. Oh yeah.
But you said that it was only kindergarten and third grade. So you were homeschooled.
So yeah, I was super independent. I worked by myself. I loved it. It meant more time for dance, which was awesome. So then I hit the age of third grade, and for the last semester, my family was like, "Do you want to try school again?" And we had a school in our neighborhood. This was a public school, and so there's a little more, freedom with it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Yeah, sure." So they put me in school, and I hated it. Not the way that like kids hate school. I hated it in the sense that I was bored. It was too easy. It was the friends were bullies. Like it was a very different way. I was like, it wasn't that I didn't want to do school. It's that I liked being homeschooled better. And my family was like, all good, finish the year and then we'll reassess. And they tell me now that I'm a certain age, but they didn't tell me this back then. But they really wanted me to go to make sure I was still on track. And then in fifth grade is when I went to my first TV show. So it ended up just working out.
By third grade,
hmm
you are how old?
I would have been 8. I
You're
think I was 8.
So you're dancing a lot.
Yeah.
And your mother owned a dance school.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is interesting. So you're Jesselyn.
Yeah.
All right. So Jesselyn, right? But you
Yes,
call her
Mom,
Jess.
Yeah. Anything. Either way is cool.
All right. So was she a dancer?
She was. She was a better teacher than she was a dancer. She's gonna kill me for saying that.
Okay.
But yeah, she was a dancer growing up. She used to put on recitals in her neighborhood. She'd teach all the neighborhood kids how to dance. Like she was good, but she was a really good dance teacher.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, she had one of like the best studios in Nebraska prior to me being born.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
So and so your father is a professional. He's not
chiropractor.
chiropractor.
Yeah.
Okay. And then your older brother.
Yeah. Is picture perfect the way you would say normal. He is that boy. Yeah, now he's an indoor skydiving instructor. He's an icon.
Winning
Yeah.
in life.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So with your mother though, being the dance instructor,
Mhm.
right? Clearly, that's how you fall into
Yeah.
to dancing, right?
Yeah.
And so, if you could think back to when you started dancing, what was it about dance that made
Yeah.
you love it so?
It's interesting because when I was really little, I loved it. I loved it when I was like 2, 3, and 4, and 5. I really loved it. And I think it was just because I was always there. What kid doesn't want to be around their mom when they're little? You know what I mean? I loved the people. And then all of a sudden, I started to get really good. And then all of a sudden, I didn't like it as much. My mom would take me to privates and she'd say, honey, you're going to do a ballet private today. And I would say, you can take me, but I'm not going to try. Or you can take me, but I'm not going to learn anything. It's stupid. And my mom just was persistent and she was like, all good. Because I would come out and I would like it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, no, I don't want to go. I hate it. It was like, you can take me, but I'm not going to try. Like, okay, sit down. You're 6. But like we stuck with it. And then, yeah, I fell back in love with it. Then again, once I was like 9, 10. And then when I was 11 is when I went to Dance Moms. And that's kind of when dance kind of became my job. And in my free time, I didn't want to dance.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Because I was dancing when I had to. And then in my free time, normally as a kid, it's like, oh, my free time, I want to dance. But then all of a sudden in my free time, I was getting free time from dance. So I didn't want to dance anymore.
Wow. Okay. So how does Dance Moms come about?
Yeah. So Dance Moms, there was a show before Dance Moms called Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition. And that, to be honest, it was like a thing on TV. If you want to be a part of Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition, submit here. And my mom did. And all of a sudden, I'm 9 years old and it's happening. And it's a really big deal to be on that show. And that show ended, and the Dance Moms producers called. And they had, one of the girls had left the show, Chloe, and they needed somebody to come in and replace her. And her mom, and kind of just fill that void. And they called, and they were like, we just want to bring you in for a week. Just come have fun, whatever. So I got that call on Friday, and I had to be there on Monday.
Okay. And where was it in LA or?
That at the time was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh. Oh my
yeah,
God.
so
Okay.
so East Coast. Anyways, so we got to Pittsburgh. We're there for a week, and they were like, "Would you want to stay a second week?" Obviously, yeah. And I was saying, "Do you want to stay a third week?" Of course. And then it was at the point like, "Okay, how long are we going to be here for?" And it was on a like, just kind of keep waiting.
Yes.
And then eventually, it just evolved into 2.5 years of my life.
Wow. Look at that.
Isn't that crazy?
Look at that.
Crazy.
But you know what though? I always say nothing just happens.
Nothing.
Right? So do you believe that? Nothing just happens.
I think everything happens for a reason.
I'm with you.
But I love not knowing the reason.
Okay.
I love not knowing the reason.
But now when you look back
Yeah.
What do you think the reason was for you being so successful early? You know, so you are, by the time you're
To piss 21-year-old me off. Because I look back and I'm like, damn, how did 11-year-old me do it?
Yeah, but how were you doing? Because I went back for this. This shows you my level of research.
No, you did your research.
I had never seen Dance Moms.
Yeah.
Okay, I went back and watched when you got on. I have a thought as to why, but when you think back to you then on Dance Moms, what was it about you and your mother that made you so successful on that show?
Honestly, I think that once I was told I was different, and once I was told I didn't look like everyone else, and once I was told I didn't dance like everyone else, I didn't conform to that and say, oh, I'll change. I said, okay, all good. When we would show up to rehearsals, I didn't mind that I didn't look like everyone else.
Right.
You know, I liked that I was having fun because I always knew that it wasn't about me. Because if I am so different and so out there and so weird, the little kid at home who's just a little bit different will feel okay.
But at 11, did you know that? Did you feel that?
I felt that I was different and that I didn't care that I was different, but I didn't realize how beautiful it was at the time.
Right.
I didn't know that.
So I'm completely with you.
Yeah.
Right. When I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, here's someone who is, and I'd love to get your opinion too, is, you know, you were constantly being told things. You were being critiqued.
Yep.
I think you were there was name calling happening.
Always.
You were being ostracized.
Yeah.
And what you did is something that I rarely see even adults do, is that you said, yep, all these things that you're saying is what makes me me.
Yeah.
It's what makes me extraordinary.
And I'm
I
not the
embrace
only
it.
one that's like this. You know what I mean? Like you and I, right? We come from different walks of life. We will have something in common. And one of those things in common will be one of those things that makes us different from if there was a third person in the room. You know what I mean? And so that makes us both different. But if only you and that third person were in the room, you would be just different.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
Yes.
so there's always something different about people. Welcome to being a person. You know what I mean?
But at 11, though, I keep
Yeah.
going back to this, is that
Yeah.
how do you come up with that? Because ultimately what that is that self-esteem.
Yeah.
Because when you have a low
I look
self-esteem.
back all the time at my confidence, being like, how'd she have it?
Yeah, but even your,
Yeah.
your esteem, right? Because ultimately that self-esteem is that the lower your self-esteem, the more you need the validation of others.
Yeah.
You at 11 didn't need the validation.
Yeah, no.
You were like, this is
Oh,
me.
don't worry though, I'm making up for it now. I need validation now like crazy sometimes.
Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But then I feel like, so do you feel like you didn't need the validation? And if so, how did you do it? How'd you get to that point?
It's interesting. I've kind of always been this way. I've never needed people's validation. I've needed my person's validation. And at that time, it was my mom. If my mom was upset with me, I knew that I was doing something wrong. I knew that I wasn't being nice, or I wasn't looking put together, or I wasn't dancing good. I knew that because she was so honest with me. You know, if I wasn't dancing good, she would tell me, and I'd watch a video and I'd be like, oh yeah, it wasn't good. You know what I mean? But if she told me I was dancing good, I knew she wasn't lying to me. You know what I mean? And granted, yeah, she's my mom. I probably looked crazy some days wearing 3 hair bows. And she's like, yep, honey, you look beautiful. You know what I mean? But to me, that's whose opinion I needed and valued. And so whatever anybody else said, I was like, no, but my mom thinks I look cool. My mom thinks I look cool. You know what I mean? And that's something that I struggle with now that I'm older, you know, not needing people's approval, because I still don't need the world, but I do still look to my mom and my partner. And do you guys like my outfit? What do you think? Should I do this? Should I do that? You know, my partner sometimes will say to me like, baby, you don't need my approval. You don't need to wear an outfit if I like it or if I don't like it, right? You wear the outfit that you like, and because you like it, I like you and I will like it. And to me, I'm like, oh, that's really sweet, but do you like my outfit? You know what I mean? Like, it's a very hard thing for me to kind of get through now that I'm older.
All right, so your mom, and I could even see that in the show,
Yeah.
is that she was your only audience.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that there's so much love there because she was your only audience, and then you were constantly getting the barrage of everyone else.
Yeah.
So one question that always comes up,
Yeah.
I'd love for you just to address this, is that some people say, okay, you were being emotionally
Yeah.
abused.
Yeah.
What's your take on what was happening to you during Dance
during
Moms?
Dance Moms. It's interesting because there's a lot of different opinions on this. The way that I was as a child and the way that I was taught from a very young age by other dance teachers, by my mom, on Dance Moms, I can say with full confidence, I was not emotionally abused for the way I was as a kid and the way I took criticism and for the way I would hear what I was being told and I would either A, let it go in one ear and out the other because I would know A, we're filming a TV show, B, Abby, just came out of this heated argument with producers that no one's gonna see and she's taking it out on me. All good, you know what I mean? Sure, I can be the punching bag for 20 minutes. Or, or something would affect me. I'd reflect on it and be like, yeah, okay, that sucked, but what's good in this situation? You know what I mean? What can I learn from this? And that's the way I was as a kid. Now, not everybody's like that. And a lot of people have different sensitivities. A lot of people get through things differently. And that's something that I had zero sympathy towards 5 years ago.
Mhm.
And I got checked. I got checked online, and people, said to me, like, hey, everyone's experience was different. And I was like, huh, you're actually so right. You're so right. And Dance Moms was a very tough environment. It was tough. It was sink or swim. Um, it was a very wild, not normal, such a unique environment that you cannot recreate. But you have to remember there was 60 hours of filming a week that got edited down to 42 minutes.
Right.
I don't know. I think for me and the way I was as a kid, I would say I've been through some shit, but I would say I've maybe people have abused their power over me, and I've been through my fair share of it.
Right.
But I've been a very, very lucky case because I would say I've never been abused,
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
which I'm lucky because that's not the case for most people that went through Dance Moms.
No.
That is not the case, and it's fair. It is very fair. I understand where they're coming from. I understand how. Also, they were yelled at differently, whether that be by producers or by Abby. They were treated differently. But for me, I don't know. I always just
When you reflect, you don't see it as emotional abuse, and I hear that. I think for me when I watched it,
yeah.
because remember I had not watched it during that time, so I didn't go through the whole the media tornado
Yeah.
that was happening. For me, what was uncomfortable
Yeah.
was that I could see how confident you were.
Yeah.
There were certain moments where I saw you tear up.
Yep.
That got to me.
Yep.
But then seeing the power dynamic,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that this was an instructor or a teacher
Mm-hmm.
talking down to to a child,
Mm-hmm.
that's the part that made me feel.
It makes you uncomfortable.
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah, very much so.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because Dance Moms puts that on TV. Think about a football coach, how tough they are if you are in high school football,
Right.
you are running till you throw up.
Right.
You're getting yelled at when you don't do. You're being punished for workout. You know what I mean? Like it's tough and dance is an art and a sport. And I don't want to sound like I'm justifying, yelling at children because it's not cool. You know what I mean? If I owned a dance studio, that's not how I would run it. You know what I mean? That's not what I would do. I don't think that behavior is cool. Two things to that. I knew what I was getting myself into. And the confidence drop. You can watch my confidence drop throughout the seasons of Dance Moms. And it's interesting because watching it, you would think, oh shit, that's because, she was getting yelled at, right? That's because of Abby, essentially, to put it quite frankly. But that confidence drop was by the people who were on my same level. That was by my friends. That was, due to putting on the same outfit and saying, ooh, Jojo, your hip looks crazy. Ooh, you know what I mean? Abby, I'm not gonna give Abby her flowers and say that she never said anything about my body because she did once, and it was about a short, and she was like, Jojo shouldn't wear that on stage. It doesn't make her body look good. That was the comment, and my mom went at her and was like, do not talk about my 11-year-old's body, and like, yeah, nobody should.
Right.
But even like people don't know this, but like my singing confidence is still a problem to this day because when we were kids. I was told by some of the other girls that I couldn't sing with them because I wasn't a good enough singer. And that's still to this day, I leave every recording session crying, every single one without failure. I won't do singing lessons because it makes me feel like that. And so it's interesting. Like you see, right, what was edited and produced. again, 60 hours. After that camera was off, we stayed at the studio. She went in the back room. There was a lot more that happened. There was the other moms even saying, we need to stop giving the kids junk food snacks. They need to start eating fruits and vegetables. And my mom and another mom would be like, the fuck? They're 12. Like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's interesting. I think I don't want to justify Abby's behavior in certain situations because no. But I also don't want to put everything on her.
On her. What? Fair.
You know what I
Fair.
mean? Like,
Fair.
but yeah, no, she has her shit, and we've all talked to her about it now that we're older. We're like, you were a bitch sometimes. She's like, oh, sweetie, you know I love you, and I'm like, yeah, but you were a bitch, like you know that.
Yeah. But you know what's really hitting me now is you saying talking about these comments
Mhm.
with regard to your singing, body image,
Yeah,
right? Was it style as well?
yeah, oh yeah,
All of this. So you distinctly remember this.
yeah. Oh, I can remember being like, oh, where'd you get your outfit? And I would say where I got it, and being like, oh, and walking away. And as a kid, you don't know what that look means, so you're immediately gonna be like, oh, you think I look horrible. You think I look ugly. You probably think I look fat. You know what I mean? Which, as an 11-year-old, is apparently the worst thing you can feel. And it's crazy. That's not something that should be a bad feeling. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I remember all those instances. There was this one time, and it was, I don't think I've ever told this story publicly, but it was, I call it the ice cream story. And on Friday nights, we all used to, and I'm not gonna say who it was because it's not worth it. You know what I mean? We were all kids, it doesn't matter. But we were all chilling in the hotel room. All the moms would go out. We would all stay in one hotel room and basically babysit each other. Anyways, at this time, I was lower class than everybody else was. Okay, we'll say it that way. My family was not struggling, but the other kids would come with $100 every week and be able to get everyone a treat and whatever.
Right.
So then we finally got to a point where we had gotten a few Dance Moms paychecks, and my mom finally was like, Jojo, like, I can give you some money tonight if you want to treat everybody. And I was like, oh my God, that'd be awesome. So she gave me $100 in a cash, $100 bills, my first $100 bill.
It's big.
So I go into the room, and one of the girls was like, do you guys want ice cream? And I was like, yeah, like, let's do it. Like, I got money this time. Like, I want to get it for everybody. And she was like, well, if you want to get the ice cream, you have to come downstairs with me to get it. And I said, my mom told me I can't leave the room. I was 11. You should not leave the room by yourself. And I was like, but if like you want to go get it, because she was like, I'm going to go get it. I was like, take my money and get it for everybody. She said, no, if you don't come, you don't get ice cream. And I said, oh, okay, it's okay. So she went down by herself and got ice cream. And she came back up with 6 ice creams. And there was 7 of us in the room. And she said, you get one, 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 and walked past me and sat down and ate her ice cream. And I'll never forget at the time, Kenzie actually was like, here, Jojo, like, share with me. And I remember just being like, damn, you know what I mean? Because like I tried. I don't know. I think that's the shit that shapes me as a kid. The stuff Abby said to me, that would go one in one ear out the other.
Sure.
But that shit, nah, that's stuff that sticks with you for life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's even what I see to this day. I always feel like I always want my peers respect. And I think too is that, and I think this is important, is that it's important to be able to identify the emotion and just be able to sit in it and say, this is part of the human experience.
Yep.
And when I sit in the emotion, I can now better position myself to rebound from it.
And also learn how that hurt me and do it to no one.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I think going into the Big Brother house, like I'm thinking right now, like I need to find a friend right away so I don't feel alone. But then I'm realizing everyone is thinking that right now. We're all leaving our family. We're all leaving our pets. Everyone's a little sad, but we're all so excited. But make sure there's no one left out. If there's someone sitting alone, check and say, hey, like, do you want to be alone right now or do you want to come chat to us? Because sometimes you need to be alone, right? Especially as an adult. But I think that's so important to like include.
So when you go back to the end of Dance Moms, did you feel alone?
No, I don't think as a kid I felt alone. I think I had my friends on Dance Moms, but I also had my mom. I also had my friends back home. I had my dad and my brother. No.
All right. So, all right, good.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So now another thing that I saw, which I thought, I was thinking, okay, the branding is so good.
Thank you.
They're so good. So was it methodical when you were on Dance Moms? Did you start to position the bow?
No,
No.
no.
Did your mom position the bow?
No,
You just loved rocking the
that
bow.
side ponytail and bow has been since I was 3 years old.
You
Like
just
that
loved
was
it.
my life.
Okay.
And it got to a point right before I went to Dance Moms that I went to a dance convention, and I was at my first convention where I like didn't wear a side ponytail and bow. And I was like 10 years old, so it was a big deal, right? Like, because most kids don't wear a bow anymore once they age out of like 8 years old, right? But I was 9 and I wore the bow on TV for AUDC, and then I was JoJo with the bow, whatever. You know Tate McRae?
Yes.
Okay, so Tate McRae was in the dance world. We were the same age at this time, and she was there and looked really cool. And we were the same age. We were 10, and I was like, she's so cool. Like, I want to be like Tate. Anyways, so I go to the next dance convention, and I just like Tate did, because like she was the cool girl. She came in from Canada, so she would travel down for conventions, whatever. So she wasn't at this one. And, you know, I'm now wearing a white bra top and my hair in a high ponytail, and I'm different. And I'm
No
not,
bow?
No bow. I'm wearing black. I'm wearing a black leotard and a bun. I'm cool. That's when I got the call for Dance Moms. And when I got that call, my mom was like, do you want to be like JoJo with the Bobo and like yourself, or do you want to be cool like Tate? And I was like, I want to be JoJo with the Bobo again. And I mean, I had a 3-day period where I wasn't JoJo with the Bobo. And so when I went to Dance Moms, we had outfits made. We got bows to match. And it's just who I was, you know what I mean? And then once it sort of became a brand, I liked it more because it was people were accepting me for who I was.
Exactly. So did you feel at that time, because once again, you're only, 11?
Yeah.
You know, so did you feel you becoming a brand and the merchandising happened, or not really?
I didn't feel like I was becoming a brand, but I felt like I was becoming liked. And I felt like people were embracing me for who I was. They were embracing my difference. And I feel like that kept it going. That made the bow get bigger, the outfits get louder. That made all that.
All right, JoJo. I want to show you this. So in that, how old are you right there in that?
This was Kids' Choice Awards, I think it looks like 2017. I would have been 13 or 14.
Okay, so you're 13 or 14.
Yeah.
The bow is massive
Maybe
at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. The bow has already, so you've now already started selling products.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know how many bows you've sold?
Or there's, trying to find out right now as we speak. But the last time I heard it was over 90 million.
Over 90 million.
Crazy.
Yes, over 90 million bows.
Crazy.
So I ordered a bow.
Let's see it. You got a little bit.
JoJo, this was, I was coming to you. This was my gripe. Are there there must be different sizes of the bow.
Oh yeah, that's a mini bow.
This is a mini bow.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I can get the full size bow.
Yeah, the full size is maybe about this big.
Okay.
That's like the standard. And then there is mega bows that are about this big. But then the standard's about this big, and then the mini, there's like a medium mini that's like that big, and then that's like a mini. There is actually one too that's smaller than that we sold for a bit. But
Okay.
that's like, so that bow comes in like a 7-day-a-week pack. So it comes with 7 of them. And there's like one for each day of the week.
So I have to grow up my hair.
Yep.
So I can rock it
Yeah.
every day.
You put it on your vest. You could,
I can do this.
yeah.
Yeah, you can do it. So these bows are still selling to this day.
Isn't that crazy? Still banned in schools over here in the UK.
The bows are banned.
Yeah.
Why?
So people don't know this, but for a bit, my UK audience was actually my biggest audience, and it was because of the JoJo bow craze. So they in schools became super popular. They had to ban them in school because kids were trading them and like fixing them all the time, and they got distracting.
Gee,
And
it
so they
was
had to ban
banned.
JoJo bows.
Has the ban been lifted
I should find
for
out.
the JoJo bows?
I should
Yeah.
find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is wild.
Crazy.
This is wild. So so that was the first product.
The JoJo bow,
The
yeah.
JoJo bows. All right. So this is you're what, 13 when
The time I was 13 when they became licensed.
they became licensed.
Yeah.
So can we talk about how you amassed this power, right? Because one thing that I think was a genius move that is not talked about,
Let's hear it.
JoJo, we need to talk about this,
Give it to me.
is that you were on television. So I think this is like 11, 12.
Yeah.
But then you start focusing on YouTube,
Yeah.
right? That is not talked about enough because there's so many child stars
Yeah.
that never adapt different platforms, different mediums.
It's interesting. I almost gave myself my own TV show because of YouTube. That was my TV show, being on YouTube. You know what I mean? And I had a best friend and still have a best friend who inspired me to do it. And, she said my whole family does it. And she said, it's great. You can make a living off of it. And she said, just try it. You might like it. You might hate it. And I loved it.
So that was your friend telling you. You're not talking
When
to
I was
any
really
management.
young. That was when I was like 11.
11, okay.
Yeah.
And you decide, I'm going to give this a try.
Yeah.
All right. So what becomes your goal?
Honestly, my goal at that time was to make a video that did good. I was hungry for it. There was always something that meant be yourself. That was always the messaging. You for you is beautiful, right? And it's interesting how that so coincides with the LGBTQIA community. And at a very young age, it was that same messaging minus the LGBTQIA part, right? Be yourself, believe in yourself. You're awesome for who you are. Every video was in that. And so I wanted to chase everyone I could, every view I could, be as out there as I could to get that message out.
Okay.
That was always my
That was the goal.
I want people, whether that be for 10 seconds on a TikTok and they're, an older teenager that's laughing at me. What are you wearing? You look weird. They laugh. They're smiling. They're having fun with it. They're sending it to their friend. Or if that's a 4-year-old watching a YouTube video going, I want to be just like JoJo Siwa. JoJo Siwa is so cool. JoJo Siwa wears bows. I want to wear a bow and be cool and different. You know what I mean? You, inherently as a 4-year-old, you don't understand that I'm pushing the message of be yourself, pushing the message of be who you want to be and have fun and live life to the fullest. You don't understand that. But you understand JoJo Siwa is different. I can be different. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what.
But okay, so I see that, right?
Mhm.
But what is challenging me a little
Give it
bit
to me. I love this.
is the enormous amount of effort and work that you had to contribute towards this.
Yeah.
Because I've seen with lots of my friends who are in television.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just tired.
Yeah.
You work long days. You were talking about how long Dance Moms is. Yeah. I looked at how many shows you've done. You've done so many. I can't even count how many television shows you've done.
Isn't that crazy?
Like literally, you've done
crazy.
dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of television shows. You have the merchandising happening. So I think, okay, if you roll out social media and a YouTube situation, most people have teams doing that.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that you were the one doing
it
this, almost to the point where it looked like you became obsessed with it.
It was my life. It became a big part of my education. It was my after school activity. It was my life as a kid. I loved it. I loved editing. I loved filming. I loved coming up with ideas. I loved being a YouTuber. I loved all my friends that were older than me and so cool. They were YouTubers and I wanted to be like them and be a YouTuber. Like it was what it was. And it's interesting because I feel like now, and this is something that I'm struggling with recently, is I look back at that and I'm like, wow, it was so successful, right? You look at my childhood and you're like, that massive, wow, that's crazy. At the time, it wasn't like that. At the time, you were fighting for views. At the time, it was, let's make the best thumbnail possible. You know what I mean? There was that hunger and that drive because it wasn't glorified the way it was. It was not an instant success. I think a lot of people look back at my life and because it's already been done, they think, oh, instant success.
Right.
But it was a struggle, it was tough. It was a fight. There was a lot of work that went into it, but it's what I wanted. I've had people run my social media and I hate it. It doesn't work. I've tried multiple different teams because sometimes it's just not the one for you. You know what I mean? And there's some sort of loss of control that it's my voice and no one else should be speaking on my voice. You know what I mean? And it's my career, but it's also my life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You could see it where you care about the message that's being placed, right? It's not just about the view. The view is important.
Yeah.
But the message is equally important.
The message is so important because it's why the view is there. Or what does that mean, right? What do you want to do with that? Like if you're in this business to make money and get a view, that's going to run out. Because how could you get 1 million views and now all of a sudden you're getting 10,000? It doesn't make sense. And so if you are only in it to chase that, you're going to run out and it's going to be awful. But I don't know. I think a lot of times too, my youngness was such a blessing because now I'm older. Now I care about that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I hope you won't mind that we're taking a quick break from this conversation to talk about my show sponsor, Shopify. So many of you who listen to this show every week also run your own small businesses or side hustles. And we all know that these days, having a business without a website is almost impossible. But getting an online store up and running isn't always an easy or quick task. Unless you're using Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to help you start, run, and grow your business. Shopify simplifies everything so you can sell online and through your social media channels. And all of their templates are customizable, so you can explore thousands of different designs to find the one that best represents your brand. You can even leverage their tools without having to learn new skills in design or coding. If you've been looking for a solution, Shopify is the answer. Visit shopify.co.uk/need-to-talk to enjoy a £1 per month trial period. That's shopify.co.uk/need-to-talk. No matter how much you plan, sometimes a date just doesn't go the way you imagined. Maybe you picked the worst seats at a gig, ones that are so bad you can't even see the stage. Or you thought that live drawing class would be fun until you realized the model was a very nude, very old man. Yeah, awkward. But you know, dates don't have to be perfect to be great. Because if you're with the right person, even the hiccups become part of the story you'll both laugh about later. And that's what Tinder is all about, and a sponsor of this podcast. You might think it's just for hookups, but in fact, on Tinder, a relationship starts every 3 seconds. So forget about planning the perfect date and just pick the right person to go on it with. It starts with a swipe. Download Tinder today. It's one of those where you could see that there was a long period of your life where, you're right, the confidence was high. And I can't wait. We're going to get into why the confidence is not as high.
Oh, God.
Right? And even let's even start to touch upon that.
Yeah.
Have you heard of a psychologist named?
No, I can already stop you there. No.
Eric Erickson.
Nope.
Okay.
But a good name. I like it.
It's a strong name.
Honestly, having the last name Erickson, good on his parents.
Yes, Eric Erickson.
And if his sister is not named Erica Erickson, I'm gonna rage.
There's an issue.
I'm gonna rage.
All right, I'm gonna research that right after this.
Yeah.
So now he's one of my favorites, right?
Yeah.
And he talks about the importance of childhood.
Yeah.
And in childhood, the importance of unstructured play.
Yeah.
The importance of self-discovery.
Yeah.
Right? And what ends up happening, you could see with so many child actors, people who have become so famous at a young age, is that they have a hard time distinguishing between who they are and their public persona.
Yeah.
Did you have a challenge with that?
It's interesting because as a kid, no, not at all. Because I wasn't, Miley Cyrus playing Hannah Montana. I wasn't Selena Gomez playing Alex Russo. I was, JoJo Siwa being JoJo Siwa, and that's kind of where that conflict came in with the movie, is the director was like, I'm the boss. And if I wasn't being JoJo Siwa in that movie, that would have been the case. And I would have had to sit down with my tail between my legs and been like, I guess I'm being told what to do. And honestly, that's how it always was. It was just, I was always me, and I was out and I was always me. And it didn't matter who I was. It didn't matter if I was loud and crazy. It's just who I was, right? And it didn't matter if I was super chill. Yeah, there was a lot of my life people didn't see. You would see a 10-minute video a day.
Right.
There's a lot more in your day than 10 minutes, right? But people, again, don't want to watch that. You know what I mean? They want to watch the fun, entertaining stuff. Even on Big Brother, you know what I mean? There's going to be 24 hours in a day cut to 40 minutes.
This is true.
Right? And so in that 40 minutes, do you want to see the times when we're being really nice to each other, and the times where we're helping each other, and the times where we're making up handshakes, and the time when we're cooking, and the time we're cleaning? Or do you want to see why we have to clean? What food fight did we get in? What is the drama happening? Yes, you want to see us be nice and have fun and have banter, but people like that's entertainment. You know what I mean? And it's not to say being mean is entertaining. That's not the case at all. But people like to be entertained, right? And I always knew that as a kid. Nobody wanted me to make slime. I didn't even want to make slime myself. But making the world's largest, sparkliest slime, sold. But what people didn't see is I would make it, chuck it, go edit the video.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed going to edit the video more than I enjoyed filming it.
That's interesting.
I loved that side of things.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So thinking about that, right?
Yeah.
Where were the hard moments for you? Because you're
Yeah.
right. These are the moments that we didn't see.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, people say, "Oh my, like, did she have any hardships?"
Yes.
But I would imagine that you had unbelievable
yeah.
hardships and
I mean,
challenges.
of course. When I was 14, maybe I was 15. I don't remember, one of those two ages. There used to be a thing called Meme of the Month. And it was a big deal at the time. It sounds so ridiculous and stupid, but I was Meme of the Month for October. And it was making fun of me. And I went out to a place called Knott's Berry Farm, and I went with my 4 friends, and I had never experienced in-person bullying like that. Multiple, I'm talking multiple hundreds of people, not 2 or 3. I'm talking hundreds of people shouting, "Fuck you, JoJo Siwa! JoJo Siwa, you're a bald bitch!" Like, people were fucking brutal to me. And they were saying that to me, because the meme was that I had a crazy receding hairline and that I was going bald at age 14. First of all, I can ask you this. You're bald. Is being bald a bad thing?
No, I mean, you know what's interesting?
Not at all.
You know what's interesting about that is, studies show that bald men are considered to be the sexiest men.
Okay,
oh,
don't hype
but I
yourself
just-
up like that. I see what you're doing over there.
I'm just saying, JoJo, this is what I hear.
Studies say that women wearing pink moto jackets and 2 ponytails are the sexiest women.
That's what I hear too.
Yeah, that's the new study that came out. I surveyed one person, my girlfriend. I'm kidding. Keep going.
But no. But I mean, so you were. So why did you get Meme of the Month? What was?
Because people were saying that I was going bald.
That was it.
And they were saying that I was a giant toddler and I was too tall for my age and that I didn't dress my age and I didn't act my age and yada, yada, yada. And here's what got me about that, right? Here's why I was okay. Because being bald's not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody who's saying being bald's a bad thing, you have a problem. If Jackie, okay, we'll just say Jackie is bullying Sarah at school, Sarah might not be able to handle it. Sarah might, develop mental health problems. Sarah might just be sad. Sarah might just have a bad day because of it. If Jackie finds more enjoyment bullying me, she's going to stop bullying Sarah. Let her bully me. Let people shout shit at me. If you shouting shit at me stops you from doing it to somebody else, all day long.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I have a receding hairline then. So I started pulling my hair back further. And I started doing videos where I would yank my hair into a ponytail because that's what people were saying. And so I said, say it more. Be my guest. Bully me. I don't care. You can't. You're far away from me. You're on a comment section. Grow up. You know what I mean? But I realized that I was taking heat off of other kids. And that to me was so valuable at such a young age.
How long though, JoJo, can you be the punching bag, right? Because I will say this is that you know what I was shocked about,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure you've seen this.
Yeah.
Is I'm shocked at the viciousness of the comments.
Yeah.
About you through to this day.
Yeah.
And also, what I'm also very shocked about is whenever we have a guest, I will say, I'll go out and I'll say, what do you think about this particular person? I was at a party this week on Saturday.
Yeah.
Right. And I said, we've got, JoJo Siwa's coming.
Yeah.
Right? And I watched the emotion. Now, it was split.
Yeah.
Half the room, oh my gosh.
Love
Yeah, lean in. We love her. The other half,
Be honest with me, I hear it every day, so.
was retraction. I can't. It was one of those.
Yeah.
You must feel this. How long
Mm-hmm.
will you accept being the punching bag?
As long as they're there. Doesn't matter. Because I can spend my time wondering right now, why did those people think that, right? Or I can spend my time right now going, damn, half the people love me. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
There were people who don't know me that were choosing people who have never met me, people who have probably seen 2 videos of me on the internet and heard one of my songs, right? Or people who don't like gay people. And, those are the people who said, oh, why? Okay. The other half of those people also don't know me. maybe know a little more of my career, maybe they don't.
Mm.
And they chose to be nice about it, and they chose to be on the optimistic side. Those are the people that I care about. And I think I don't mind being the internet's punching bag. All good. Some rando comments. Yeah, sure, it hurts occasionally. Yeah, sure, it's annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, it's like, okay, grow up, right? Yeah, sure. And every so often I have a moment, right? If somebody decides to hate on something new, if somebody was to say JoJo has big knees, just say, I would look at my knees and be like, fuck, I kind of do. And then I'd be like, okay, grow up. We're talking about knees here. You know what I
So
mean?
it sinks in for a moment.
Takes me a second, and then I, to spit it back out. I'm like, okay, two people, okay. But there's, I don't know. It doesn't bug me. Because also those people that said, ugh, they still got a little enjoyment saying that.
Yeah. You know what I find too interesting about that is
Yeah.
that you still evoke emotion, and
Yeah.
and to what you were staying true to
Have an
yourself
opinion.
because that's what you wanted as a little girl. You were like, hey,
Yeah.
yeah,
And they have an opinion, and they care enough about me to have an opinion on me.
yeah,
And I don't know. I think it's different if someone's met me and they have a rough experience. And for that, I would have a conversation and be like, hey, this is why I was acting this way towards you. I had no malicious intent with you. I just was going through this that day or that day. Because that's human nature, right?
right.
I'm not maybe a nice person every day, but I will always be a good person.
So who was it, or was it circumstance that led to that confidence that you're talking about
Mm-hmm.
being lowered and lowered as you've gotten older?
Honestly, I think myself, because I think I've become more aware of things, and I've become more aware of what I look like, more aware of what people are saying to me, more aware of what I sound like, more, when you're young, you're naive. You have an imagination that is bigger. You look in the mirror and you put an outfit on and you don't think, ooh, this like fits my arm funny. You think, oh my God, Hannah Montana. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I would put this jacket on as a kid and be like, whoa, it's so cool and sparkly, right? But as an adult, I'm like, it kind of lays on my hips funny, right? That just is like, I think a lot of times we try to point a finger at where that comes from. But a lot of times it's just yourself. You're just becoming more self-aware.
Right.
And you hear things that other people say, and your brain is developed by billions of different places, right? But I think for me personally, I'm just so aware of myself now. And I'm still growing. Obviously, my brain has 4 more years till it's fully developed. But I don't know. I think that obviously, like, being told stuff every day makes you think about things, right? Being told you're too loud makes you think, like, do I need to be a little quieter? Maybe you don't say that, right? Maybe you say you need to be louder, but maybe you think, oh, am I shouting?
Sure.
You know what I mean?
So that's being conscious, as you're saying. So being self-conscious then is you monitoring that about yourself.
Yeah.
So what's one area that you think you're most self-conscious about today?
My singing.
You're singing.
And it's a booby trap because that's my career and it's my favorite thing, and it's singing and performing and being live on stage is my favorite thing ever, but it is the thing I'm by far most self-conscious about.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself to be a good singer?
Absolutely not. I would never, ever, ever, I wouldn't even say I'm a singer. I would say my name is JoJo Siwa. I'm a dancer. I'm a performer, an entertainer, and a reality TV star. I will not say I'm a singer. Because unless I really have to, unless they're like, hey, we really need to get in that you're a singer, I will. I think because when I was little on Dance Moms and the other girls said to me, you can't sing with us, you're not a good enough singer.
It stayed with
It
you.
stuck with me. And that was something by my peers, by my friends, by the people the next day I told who I had a crush on. You know what I mean? But that sticks in your brain and you don't care about it until 2 years later when you try to sing and then you're like, fuck, maybe I can't sing.
Right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned this earlier in the conversation is that when you were in the booth that you cry.
All the time. All the time. All the time. And like even when I leave a recording session, everyone around me knows like sensitive time. You know what I mean? Like give me an hour to see if I'm okay.
What about on stage?
When I'm on stage is when I am the most comfortable.
Okay.
Feel the most confident, feel like nothing in the world can go wrong. It is the weirdest thing.
Okay.
Being in a booth, I hate it.
Yeah.
Singing live, sign me up. I'm down. Freddie Mercury had this quote, and I used to never sing live. And then Freddie Mercury said, no one can sing my songs better than I can. And I have that actually typed down on my in-ears because it's so true. You know, you're an artist, you have these songs. People come to me and they're like, you have a platinum song. You're a singer.
Right.
I'm like, no, I'm an artist. I'm an entertainer. I'm not.
So do you hope to be a singer one day?
Can I be really honest? No. I'm not spending my life chasing the thing that I feel bad about myself for. You know, the more I chase trying to be a singer, the sadder I'll get, the more sad I'll feel about it. The more I chase being an entertainer and a performer and making others feel happy, the better my life is. And
Okay.
long story short, we don't know when this life ends. And if I spend one more second of my life than I already have going, because I have, right? Being like, oh, I want to be a good singer. I want to be a singer. I want to be considered, I want to be taken seriously as a singer.
Right.
If I spend one more second doing that and then my life was over, I would roll in the grave. I would literally be like, ugh. Like you'd literally bury me and my eyes would be rolled. Like I would be livid.
Yeah.
Because I can chase it being a performer and an entertainer.
All right. I see it.
And maybe not making the best song, but making a song that's entertaining and that you
Yes.
like and that's different and unique. And I'm never going to be Celine Dion. It's never happening. It's not within goal reach. You know what I mean? It's all good. But there are other things that are.
And you'll chase that.
And some of the best artist entertainers have some of the wildest voices that people would say are bad. I don't think anyone's a bad singer besides myself. But but I know sometimes I need to take my own advice. But a lot of people have very opinionated opinions on artists. Someone like Britney Spears. People always say she can't sing. She can't sing for nothing. Okay, she's the biggest pop star in the world. What does it matter?
Mm-hmm.
You're entertained. You listen to her music.
Mm-hmm.
If I was just saying, hit me, baby, you would say, one more time.
Sure would. Yeah.
And that's her song, and she's an artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. Good point. Point. I mean, you got it. You got
It's
it.
interesting.
Although I will say,
Yeah.
though, it does pain me to hear you say that you are a bad singer.
People hate when I say that.
Yeah.
People, it's
Yeah. That's definitely.
I mean, thank you for feeling that and saying that. I mean, it's my team, my partner, my mom. Everybody gets very upset with me when I say that because they're like, "You are the first one to say no one's a bad singer. Why would you say that about yourself?" I'm like, "Because I am." But I don't know. I just like to. Okay, I'll say this. Maybe I'm not a great singer, but I will not stop trying to become the greatest entertainer. I will always be pushing to that. I'll always be fighting for that spot. I'll always be trying to get there. Because that's what I care about. I don't care about being the best singer. Same way I'm not a good football player. Not good at football.
Right.
And I'm not trying to get there.
Right.
All good.
But so in that zone, you'd be an athlete. Here, you're going to be the best entertainer.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the goal.
Yeah. That's
We're like literally world's greatest entertainer.
my I just want to make people happy.
Okay.
Make people feel entertained. 15-second TikTok, 2-hour show.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. So now we have to talk about relationships.
Ah, please, my favorite topic.
This is
Sometimes.
Yeah. This is because you've had what I would call an interesting. Is that a good word to use to describe?
My relationship life has been described as a lot of words.
You've had
Interesting is a nice one.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So let's start with this. Let's talk about sexuality
Yep.
and identity.
Yeah.
Okay, that journey.
One I'm still on, for sure. It's interesting. I never, thought twice about anything. I remember one time also on Dance Moms, one of the girls said, "Oh, this girl who used to dance with us just came out as a lesbian. Her Instagram had gotten hacked, and somebody said I'm a lesbian now on her hacked Instagram." So it wasn't her saying it. I don't know if she actually is or isn't, but it was at a time where she got a lot of hate for that. And I remember the other Dance Moms girls when we were little saying, "Oh, she's a lesbian. Like that's weird. We danced together. Like we changed in front of her, and like she likes girl. Like that's weird." And I literally remember saying, and I never stood up to the other girls, but I remember being like, that's not weird.
Mm.
And they were like, what? And I was like, it's not weird. Kept it pushing. Didn't think twice about anything, right? And then I remember having a best friend and we met. And now I was 16. Yeah, I would have been 16. And we met on a cruise ship. And I asked her, I said, so when did you know you were gay? And she was 15 at the time. And she said, oh, I'm not. I have a boyfriend. And I was like, dude, no way. And she showed me a picture of her and her boyfriend. And she was the first girl that I ever met that I was like, lesbian.
Yes.
I never met any girl like that, but I knew she was. But anyways, we became best friends. We talked every day. She lived in Florida. I lived in California. 6 months later, she comes to me and she's like, hey, I think I have to tell you something. It was June, so it was Pride Month. And I was like, what's up? I think you were right. And I was like, that you're gay? And she was like, yeah, I think I might like mostly like girls. And I was like, yeah, I know. Which is exactly what you're not supposed to do to somebody. You're not supposed to put that pressure or not supposed to assume anything. But I fully did. And I was like, yeah, I know. And she was like, okay. And 2 months later, she became my first girlfriend. So how that got there was she was telling me about a crush she had on a girl and how they had a night in a hot tub and they were in bikinis and she was just sitting there looking at her. And I thought to myself, I wish that was me. So we were going to see each other again over Christmas because I was going to be in Florida. She lived in Florida. So we're just friends at this point. My parents asked me, like, what would you do if she, like, tried to make a move on you like she did her friend? And I was like, oh, God, she would never. Like, we're best friends. It's so weird. And I genuinely believed that at the time. But I was a little jealous of the girl in the hot tub. Anyways, we see each other in Florida for the first time.
Okay.
And I got in her car and we sat there for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, staring at each other. And she was like, I should go find a parking spot. And I was like, you should go find a parking spot. Like, it was like the grandest, and we both have talked about this multiple times, like the grandest feeling of feelings that you can feel. And she parked and we got into the hotel room and immediately she was like, I have to do homework. And I was like, yeah, no, all good. I have to edit something. And we separated. And then we played this game the whole week called Jaden and Abby, where we pretended we were my brother and his girlfriend. But at this point, you know, I'm straight.
Right. Right.
And she asked me, she said, do you have a crush on anybody right now? And I said, yeah, knowing it was her. And she said, will you tell me who it is? And I said, no. And we played this game the whole week. She would keep asking me. I would keep saying no. And she said, will you just tell me if it's a boy or a girl? And she was the first person that I said, I have a crush on a girl. And she said, I knew it. I knew you were gay too. That's why you cared so much about me being. And I was like, shut up. Don't tell anyone. Like, shh, my family can't know. Like, that was my thought at the time. She's like, will you tell me why you won't tell me who your crush is? And I was like, no, I'm not talking about it. And she was like, okay, can I just ask you, is it because you're afraid of rejection and like being rejected by this person? And I said, yeah. And she said, okay, that's crazy of you. And I was like, huh? And she said, no one would reject you. I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, you're like anybody's perfect person. And honestly, I'm really jealous of whoever your crush is.
Wow.
And in that moment, I literally told her, I was like, it's you. And then we just cuddled and it was so sweet and so innocent. And then that was it. And then the next day we kept like looking at each other like side eye, like we know now, like it's a mutual crush, whatever. And then, you know, we had kissed that night and it was beautiful and it was sweet. And that's when I knew.
First girl you kissed?
First girl I'd ever kissed.
Can I ask the cuddle though?
Yeah.
At that moment, what emotion would you use to describe that moment for you?
Frozen. I was frozen. I had no thought, no feeling. My body couldn't move. I not only was having feelings for my best friend, but for a girl in her arms, just frozen. Don't know what I'm feeling. Don't know what this feeling is, but I love it. And I want to never, ever stop feeling this feeling. And it just felt so magical. Nothing could go wrong in that feeling.
Wow. At what point, though, because you're JoJo Siwa,
Mm-hmm.
so at what point do you begin thinking, who am I going to tell?
Never. I never thought about it.
You never?
I never thought about it. So the next day was where we had to separate. And it was really hard. We just had these beautiful, grand feelings. And I said goodbye to her, walked her to her car. I kissed her goodbye because no one could see us. And it was like, what are we going to do about this? We don't know. Nobody knows about me. Some people know about you. Like, this is crazy. And whatever. We're very young also. At this point now, we're 17 and 16.
Right.
And So I get back in the car with my family, and my mom says to me, I'm crying because we just said goodbye. And my mom says to me, like, you really like that girl, don't you? And I was, oh, yeah. And my mom said, do you like her as a friend, or like, do you like her as like more than a friend? And she asked me, and I can't lie to save my life. And I, more than a friend. And my mom was like, I figured. And my dad was like, sweet, no pregnancy scares. And then my dad was like, I bought something while we were at Universal because I kind of thought this was the case. And he pulled out a Love is Universal cup.
Wow.
And they made it really easy on me. And that's not the case for most people. But then there was like a 2-week teething period where it was kind of awkward. My parents didn't really have much conversation with me. And then my mom came to me and was like, hey, I know I've been weird. I don't know how to talk to you. And she was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to ask you questions. I don't know if it's invasive. I don't know if you want to talk about it. Can we just have a super open conversation? And I was like, I don't know how to talk about it either, but I want to talk about it. I want to tell you everything. And my mom was like, okay. Like we had a very open, I've never had a gay kid before. I don't know. Am I supposed to just like talk to you as if you were a straight kid? Am I supposed to be a little extra, a little less?
Right.
And I was like, I don't know either, Mom. Like, I think just talk to me like you talked to Jaden and we'll call it a day. And so we did, and it worked out great for us.
The support and love that you had
Was
from
beautiful.
your parents, yeah,
Was unreal.
is unreal. And I'm sure that then allowed you to be more confident.
So coming out to the world.
Yes, because
Yep.
this is what I find. So I found this stat. This completely blew me away. So this is a 2016 stat, but a Pride in London survey, 1,000 LGBTQ plus people found that 74% still felt the need to hide their identity when in public.
Yeah.
That blew me away.
Yeah.
And I would imagine at that point,
Yeah.
you have business interests
Yeah.
and partners who may not want you to come out.
Yeah. And I had no idea of that. I was 17 and I was in love for the first time.
Okay.
And so I made a video to Born This Way and showing that it doesn't matter. If you want to think that I'm gay, straight, or bi, lesbian, transgender life, I'm on the right track, baby. I was born to survive, right? Those are the lyrics that I sang to. And that was just me being like, look, it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
Maybe I am, maybe I'm not, up for interpretation. And then it got to a point where people were speculating so much. I mean, it was millions of people. It was nuts. There's a thing called queer baiting, right? Where you can kind of, people use the queer community, unfortunately, to gain a follower. And it got to a point where people thought I was maybe queer baiting and just trying to get that, right? Get. And I wanted to make it very clear that that wasn't the case. But I didn't know what to do, but it got to a point where I should confirm or deny, right? Either set the record straight or set the record straight that I'm not,
Yes.
right?
And just so I'm clear, you're the one making this decision.
Absolutely.
You're not consulting with anybody.
My mom.
Your mom, just your mom.
I'm telling her my ideas and she's saying, oh, I love that. Oh, you should do that part of the song. Nothing crazy. And at that point, I say, okay, I'm gonna think on it, okay? So I FaceTime my girlfriend. It's about 2 a.m. And I had just posted to my close friend's Instagram story a shirt of me saying best gay cousin ever.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
And it's 2 a.m. I'm on FaceTime with my partner, and we've been dating for 3 days at this point, something like that. I told her, I said, I think I'm going to post this picture publicly. And she said, okay, do it. And I said, okay, I'm going to. And I popped it on Twitter. And I woke up the next day, and it was like nothing I'd ever experienced online. It was bananas. And I thought it was all positive. I thought people were being nice. Ellen DeGeneres reached out. I mean,
Wow.
people from Grey's Anatomy, which was my favorite show at the time, reached out. Demi Lovato reached out. Madison Beer reached out. Like, beautiful souls reached out. It was crazy.
I saw. Did Elton John also?
Elton John called me, got my phone number and called me. Getting a random number from the UK thinking it's a prank call and answering it being like, hello. And it's like, hello, darling, it's Elton John. You're like, fuck, hi. Crazy.
And what did he say?
We had met before. So we had met a year and a half prior. And he just wanted to say how proud he was of me and congratulations. I mean, the closet was a glass door. Anybody could see, like, yeah, no duh.
Yes.
And so I think he obviously, you know, being in the community, he could see that.
He knew. He
Yeah.
knew.
But I thought it was all positive. I mean, Elton John called me. What, who else could have an opinion, right? And then I scrolled and I was like, holy shit. And my thought wasn't, whoa, people are being so mean to me. It was, whoa, people are really homophobic still. How is it at the time, I think it was 2021, how are we still here? And at that point, it became my mission because I still am. I don't want to make it sound like I'm not, but I used to be super passionate about anti-bullying, right? And kids in school, and I still am. It's still a big part of my life. But now being older, something I realized is I used to tell bullies to stop, right? That was the message that I said. Stop bullying. We need to end bullying. Tell a teacher, let's end bullying.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was like 15, I was like, that's not realistic. You can't tell the bully to stop, but you can tell the person that's getting bullied what to do, how to handle it. You can also tell them that they're beautiful and they're awesome and they don't need to listen to it. You can inspire that person much more than you can stop a bully. And so that, once I came out, kind of taught me that it's not about the homophobic people. It's not about the people who don't like me. It's about the other people, my age, older than me, younger than me, who maybe are in a closet, maybe are out of a closet.
But what about the pressure, though, that the corporates then apply to you? Because you're this massive
They
business
said to
entity.
me, it was interesting because Nickelodeon, the president at the time, said to me, what are we going to tell the kids? And I said, what do you mean? And I realized that because, when you come out, people assume you're talking about having sex with a woman as a lesbian, right? That's what people think. Oh, I'm coming out. That means, hey guys, guess what I did? It doesn't mean that at all. And the same way they think it's cute if I do a music video and have a romantic interest that's a boy. Does that mean I'm having sex with this boy? I'm 14. No, it means it's cute and we're drinking lemonade and it's precious, right? And it's not about that. And I think me coming out at such a young age helped that message be pushed. But it's interesting, and this was the story that I was just gonna tell about my best friend because he went through a similar situation. I'll talk about him openly. His name is Ezra. He's a pro on Dancing with the Stars now, and he's a very new pro. He's the newest of the pros. Him and I met when I did Dancing with the Stars, and right away I said to him, one of the first things I ever said, I was like, "You're gay, right?" And he was like, "Yeah, how'd you know?" And I was like, "Bro, it's obvious." And we became best friends. We became inseparable. Anyways, he comes on my tour with me, and we were on an Instagram live stream. And mind you, he is open the way he talks. He's wearing rainbows left and right. His hair is glittery and rainbow every night. Like, he's very clearly a member of the LGBTQIA community.
Okay.
And we're on an Instagram live, and somebody said, "Do you have a gay best friend, JoJo?" And I said, "Yes, I do, and he's right here." And I gave him a big hug, and he ended the live stream.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that was weird. I didn't think twice of it. I thought maybe I hugged him funny or thought maybe he got a text that was bad. I didn't know what happened. Doesn't talk to me for a day, doesn't talk to me for another day. Finally, I was like, "You're my best friend and you're not speaking to me. What did I do?" And he looked at me so earnestly. He said, "You outed me on Instagram Live." And I said, "Hold on." And he said, "I'm not out." He said, "The world, people, my family doesn't know I'm gay, and you outed me." And immediately, I felt so horrible because that is queer family 101. You do not out somebody until they are ready. And even then, you let them out themselves, and then, you support. That's number one rule. Do not out somebody until they are ready. But number two, I immediately went into quick I'm sorry mode. But right after that, it was, what's going on? Why? Why do you feel like you have to be in this closet? Why can your family not know? Why? And he said, "I'm afraid for my job. I really want to be on Dancing with the Stars, but I don't think I can if I'm gay. You're, a star and you're a celebrity and it's different." And he was just about to come out in June for Pride Month. And at that point, then everything had went back to square one because he was told your job will be in jeopardy by somebody he was very close to. And so I told him, I said, ask. I said, ask the main producer. Ask. Tell her who you are and ask. And I guarantee she knows who you are. And I guarantee it's going to be fine. He said, "You really think so?" And I said, "I promise. I promise." And I said, "And if not, I will make a TV show and you will be the star of it, okay?"
Right.
And so he did. And she replied with the exact message she should have. And it was beautiful. And he came out and he's the first in America openly gay pro.
Wow.
And
wow.
he is a fucking icon, especially now after being a first pro. He was paired. He had a very controversial pairing for his first season, and everyone loves him. He's one of the most social media famous now from the show, and it's been one season, and he did it. And that was another case of a big network being big and scary.
Yes.
And whether that be a big network that's big and scary or a family member or a friend, I promise there's this beautiful big community with big open arms waiting to give you the biggest hug. Promise.
Powerful. That's a powerful story. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine how you felt in the moment, but what you've done, you helped to give him the confidence.
And it's interesting because him and I, we say we're like husband and wife because we have gone through the ringer. We have not spoken to each other for 6 months at a time, being mad at each other, not just like, oh, we drifted.
Sure.
But we've also, like, he was on my last text today before I went into the Big Brother house. Like, he is my fucking blood. I love this man. And, like, I even tell, like, my friends or my family or him, too. I'm like, yeah, he's a dingus sometimes, but, like, he's my boy.
But
like,
but yeah.
I
Yeah,
couldn't live
that's
without
that's
it.
how you know you have
Yeah.
love. So this is interesting. You said Ezra was one of the last texts today,
Yeah.
but I can guarantee you, the last text was your current partner.
It was.
It was. Can you speak just a little bit on this? Because I think the U.S., if this relationship continues,
Yeah.
right, the U.S. could lose you.
What do you mean?
I mean, because well, where does your partner live?
Australia.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
You're saying I could move.
I think you could move. I think you
Well,
would
look.
move for love.
There's a lot at stake, obviously. But first of all, I would say I have the most amazing, beautiful partner. They are an incredible human being who I don't know how I snagged them at all. Don't know. But it's one of those things that they don't want me to drop everything I have here and run there, and I don't want them to drop everything we run there. And
Sure.
say one day we have kids together, I want my kids to know my partner's family, and my partner wants their kids to know my family. You know what I
Sure.
mean? And so we're in a beautiful, beautiful place where they like America, I like Australia. We're down.
So you just go back and forth.
Yeah.
But how do you manage that? Because I always say that, the most important thing in a long distance relationship
Yeah.
is to have a date when the distance ends.
Yeah.
Do you have a date when the distance ends?
We have ever changing, you know what I mean? We have our when we're gonna see each other next. We try to never like end seeing each other without knowing when the next time will be, whether that be months or weeks or days. I don't know, I think communication is a beautiful thing, and we're lucky we live in a world of FaceTime and a world of text and calls, and we're also just like with Kath, like I just trust him beyond trust, and it's such a like, yeah, that's my partner.
That's your
I
partner.
don't worry about that.
So you are in love.
Super. I called when I said goodbye to them at the airport to come here. I called my mom as soon as I left them, and I said, Mom, I'm really in love with them because I've never said goodbye like that. Where, I mean, I've had my meltdowns. I'd struggle saying goodbye to things because I enjoy the moment so much that then saying goodbye, I'm the type that's like, I know I'm never gonna get this moment back. I really struggle saying goodbye. But that goodbye, there was something about it that just felt special. Yeah.
And how does it feel to be loved?
Feels like no matter what goes on, no matter if I succeed or I fail, if I win, if I lose, if I'm happy or if I'm sad, if I'm mad or if I'm nice, it doesn't matter. It feels like I always have an open arm that I can fall into, and I can lay a shoulder that I can lean on. And even if I piss them off so much, I can still lay my head on their shoulder and they will still wrap their arms around me. It feels so unconditional.
Yeah.
I think you have lots of forms of love in your life, but there's something to be said about an unconditional romantic love.
Yes.
And I think even if I've had other loves, I think I've had one other, my first unconditional romantic love. I feel like that was a very real love. And maybe I've had other loves, right? But I think that unconditional love is something that's very, very hard to come by.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
There's something special with
Yeah,
romantic, unconditional love.
it really is.
But Jojo, when I look at your life so far,
Yeah.
which is you're so young.
It's so weird.
You're so young.
I'm a baby.
Right? You are a baby. Literally, you're a baby.
Yeah.
But when I look at your life, I question, what would you be without your mom?
Honestly, can I be really honest? Let's say I was really young and something happened to my mom. I'd be a neurosurgeon. 100%. My dad is in the medical industry. He's a chiropractor. And that's my other passion in life. And this career, I always say I'm not doing it without my mom. I couldn't do it without her, and I don't want to do it without her. And so, the JoJo Siwa that the world knows will live on until either I'm gone or she's gone. And then it might be at the drop of a hat that you just never hear from me again publicly. Because then I have my little bubble of my family and my friends. And, I'll still do what I want to do with the world. But this career it would be impossible without her. It's pitcher catcher. And everything goes back to pitcher catcher. I don't know who would fill her spot. She just does a bit of it all. She makes this outfit to sending me the last video that I see. You know what I mean? She does it all.
She made this outfit?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. That's what I mean. I'm not doing it without her. I will be naked. I will literally be everywhere naked. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a superwoman. But I think that if I never had her, I still have a big passion for medicine. It's a big thing that I want to do. I want to build a hospital one day and put my money into that. Like, that's a very big passion in my life. But I think my dad would have been really good nurturing that side of my life. But my mom was better at nurturing this side.
So it was either creative or doctor.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. Even now, like, I still have the conversations with my partner and my family, and they're like, you can literally go to med school if you want. You're young enough.
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, I'm good. But, like, it's still a passion. There's a different way.
Yeah. I mean, you have plenty of time.
Plenty of time.
You have plenty of time. What is your dream?
My dream to have babies. I just want to be a mom. Stunned you with that one. You didn't think I was taking it there.
You know what? I didn't think you were taking it there.
Yeah.
But I've heard you mention this.
Yeah.
And I see that this is something that you don't just say.
No.
You truly are passionate about being a mom. Why so?
I don't know. I've had a very maternal instinct, no joke, for a very long time. Since I was like 12, 13, I've always had a maternal instinct. And it got very strong when I was 17, 18, 16, 17, 18. I think the most important thing is a mutual respect. I think a lot of times it's very easy for children to have respect for their parents when they're young. Then all of a sudden you become a teenager and you start to learn what respect is. And I think where a lot of times it goes wrong is parents don't give respect to the teenager. And so then the teenager realizes, well, then why should I give respect to you? Fair. Absolutely fair. You know what I mean? I think respect is something that, is mutual. And I think that being friends with your kids is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
You want your kids to tell you their secrets. You want to keep your kids safe. You want to go to ice cream with your kids. You want to bring your kid to work. You want your kid to want to come to work.
Yeah. This party that I was talking about on Saturday?
Yeah.
My sons were with me.
Yep. There you go.
This is what I say. I think that it's interesting. When I was growing up, I think there was a big line between being a friend to your child. Right. But I've reached a point where, my son is one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And I can see that's the type of parenting
You can.
that you would provide.
Yep.
All right. I only have two more topics because you have to get out of here. What do you want viewers to learn from you?
Viewers of this or viewers from Big Brother?
Viewers of Big Brother to learn from you.
That I'm genuine. I think a lot of people see my past career and they think fake. You know what I mean? Like, you're not nice. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of my friends who are in the industry also will be like, how are you not crazy? How are you not super selfish? How are you not, like, people struggle to realize that about me when I first meet them. And I don't know, I think I'm excited for people to get to see the human side of me and to see the side of me that's, chilling.
Sure.
I'm chilling and I'm genuine and I care about people. And I will get anyone a Band-Aid.
Yes.
I don't care if they say they hate the ground my mom walks on. I will tell them to shut the fuck up and I will walk and get them a Band-Aid.
Yeah, I can see it.
You know what I
That's
mean?
going to stay with me. The Band-Aid's going to
Give 'em a
stay with
Band-Aid.
me. Yeah. What do you believe is most misunderstood about you?
Oh, man. A lot of people think that there was always, someone telling me what to do or someone doing it for me. And that's always super frustrating because it's like, no, dude, like, I did it all myself. Yes, I had a big network and yes, I had my mom. But when it comes to YouTube videos and editing and filming and stuff like that, it was all me. Coming up with what I did, it was all me. Picking out my outfits, all me. You know what I mean? That's a big.
And it was you.
It was all me.
So this transition between the young JoJo and the older JoJo, there were There was some controversy around that.
Yep.
But you made those decisions. You decided, yeah.
So the last year of my life is the only time when it was different. The last year from Karma to about 3 months ago.
Really?
That's the only time it's been different. And I've, listened to outside opinions and gone certain ways and done certain things that maybe I wouldn't have necessarily done, choices I wouldn't have necessarily made. But I did, and I trusted because I wanted to do essentially what my boss said. I had a bit of a breakdown, and I cried, and I said, "Why am I pretending that I'm drinking alcohol and being crazy? I'm a good girl. I'm saying I'm drinking Fireball on stage, but it's apple juice."
Oh, wow. So a lot of those decisions over the last year around your
Have
brain,
been
it
guided.
wasn't you. It was,
It's been guided, and it's been honestly, I'll be honest. Karma was me. I wanted to do that. I want to do that song. I want to do that dance. I want to do that makeup. I like that. Everything after the day Karma was released was not me.
wow.
And that's very tough because I look back at my last year of my life and I think, whoa, it could be so different. I could be in a way different place now. But if I was in a way different place now, I wouldn't be on Big Brother.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have met my partner. You know what I mean? There's so many beautiful things in my life that they'd be so different if I wouldn't have made changes. So I'm happy I did.
So then 3 months ago, what changed? You made changes.
I realized that I was in control for the first time again,
Okay.
but I was still acting as if I wasn't.
Okay.
And it was interesting. I was kind of being guided everywhere, and I just needed to stop. And I just needed to have a beat. And then this beautiful song fell into my lap. That is a song saying exactly how I feel right now. And as soon as I get out of the Big Brother house, I literally have a day, and then I go into rehearsals for the music video for that song. And it was very important to me that that was the message that I shared because it's, for the first time again, exactly how I feel.
So you're leading once again, which I think
Finally.
that's the right zone for you.
And I'm finally with a song, not singing about I'm happy, I'm positive, I'm on top of the world, I feel great. It's not a song about that. It's a song
Gotcha.
about the opposite.
So it's like JoJo Siwa is not a bad girl. She's a good girl.
JoJo Siwa is a bit vulnerable. JoJo Siwa is not bulletproof. JoJo Siwa can feel sometimes, and this is what it looks like.
Okay. Last question then. Everyone gets this. You've had some incredible conversations in your very short life.
Yeah.
When you think back to the most memorable, what was that conversation? Who was it with? And what did you learn?
It was with Elton John. And,
Of course it was.
and Sacha Baron Cohen.
Of course it was.
And they were having a discussion about the Queen movie Bohemian Rhapsody. And I was in Elton John's dressing room with Sacha Baron Cohen, and they were talking about the movie. And I wasn't really listening to what they were saying because I was frozen. And Elton says something like, the guy in the movie, the actor, Rami, he didn't do the vocals. Who sang? And they were talking about this for like 3 minutes. Sasha's like, what was his name? Like, first of all, Google it. Second of all, I'm standing there and I am the number one fan. I've seen this movie. We rented out the theater because at this point in my life, I couldn't go to a movie theater and it was too hectic. So we would rent out the theater, and we rented it out 14 times to see this movie. It was my life. It changed.
You rented
way I
out the
thought
theater
about-
14 times.
It changed everything for me, that movie. I mean, I studied it. I could give you the whole 2 hours of the movie right now if you wanted it. Like, it's the only thing that made me sing live was that movie and falling in love with Freddie Mercury and all of that. It's the reason why I perform with a mic stick, just like Freddie did, to honor that love. Yeah, it's beautiful, honestly, what that movie did for me. But I'm the number one fan of it. And they're talking about it. I'd say to my mom, I'm like, it's Mark Martell, the guy they're trying to name. And my mom was like, what? And I was like, it's... And I literally, I couldn't help it because they were like, what's his name? I was like, it's Mark Martell. And they were like, they both turned around and were like, what? And I was like, I'm so sorry. I wasn't eavesdropping, but I totally was eavesdropping. The name you guys are trying to think of, it's Mark Martell. That's who did the vocals in the movie. And Elton John said, join us. And he scooted over on the couch, and I sat in between them, and now it's Elton, Sasha, and me, and we're having a chit-chat about the Queen movie now, because Elton and Freddie were obviously very good friends. And yeah, crazy.
So that conversation is memorable. Is it because of who it was, the topic, all the above, or anything else?
It was because these absolute legends had no reason to include me as a 15-year-old. No reason. They didn't need to. They were buddies, but I felt included and I felt important in a room that I should feel super not important. You're with Elton John and Sacha Baron Cohen. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And yeah, I don't know. It's just cool. I got to teach them something. Like, it was just, as a 15-year-old, you think that's cool, but that's for sure the most memorable.
Absolutely. You know, I will say this, is that I keep going back to, you've achieved so many things, interacted with so many people, but what is clear is that you are just at the beginning.
You know,
You're just at the
it's
start.
crazy because sometimes when people say that to me, and I'm in a good place now, right now, where I'm taking that the right way, where I'm like, thank you, like that means a lot. Yeah,
Yes.
you know what I would say.
Yes.
But sometimes people say that to me in a negative context,
Oh, interesting.
and I literally I sometimes want to be like, bitch, I'm 12 years deep in this. There's no way I'm still at the beginning.
Oh, because they're saying that you haven't.
They're like,
Yeah.
you're just getting started, and I'm like, no, I'm not. And it's almost in a context of like, oh, you have so much to learn, and I'm like, bitch, no.
Yeah.
I have done more TV shows than years you've been alive. I have written more songs than years you've been alive. I have fired more people than you have years been alive, okay?
Yes.
Like, that when it's in that context, it drives me nuts. But the context that you're saying it in.
Yeah.
is-
I'm saying, like, you've made incredible impact.
Thank you.
Like the age range, the demographics, the years, the youngest to sell out the O2 at 16
Crazy.
years old. Come on now.
Crazy.
It's like all of these things are incredible, but I'm saying that you are going to achieve even more incredible feats going
Thank you.
forward. Yeah.
That means so much. It really does.
Yeah. I appreciate this conversation.
I appreciate you. It was a beautiful conversation.
I wish you the best in this house.
Thank you. Stay tuned. Tune in.
But we got to get you out of here because we
I know,
got to get you to the house.
I don't know what time it is, but I'm like, it's got to be almost house time.
Yeah, it's right on time. Yeah.
Work.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Look at this. We got Kingston joining us today. Yeah.
So what did you think of the interview?
I have not seen this JoJo that we saw today. She came in with the highest level of energy that I have seen thus far from any of our guests. And you could say she was performing in one sense, but then as we got into the conversation, I could see that's part of her. You know, that's part of her nature, she knows how to turn it up. But today you saw a different tone. I was shocked at how challenged she felt about this last year. I don't think she's been pleased with the direction of her career. So I was surprised.
And what surprise do you like the most?
You're good at this, huh? Oh my gosh. This guy said, I'm coming for your chair, Dad. What surprised me the most, she still is very conscious about how the public feels about her. The comments hurt, and she considers them. And I think that it's something that we always have to be conscious of. She has been ridiculed, she's been name called, but yet she shows up every day trying to fight against that storm. And I think ultimately, and this seems like such a simple message, but it's so profound, is be kind. It's, you know, not only be kind to those around us and those in your family and those of your friends, but be kind to these online personalities and these stars and these celebrities, because they do read the comments. They do take in that information into their life, and it does shape their psyche. So be kind. The odds are that she is going to win Big Brother. That's what the betting odds are. We'll see.